This is the typical, right? Yeah, it's out there on GitHub, it's perfect. People will send me perfect pull requests. It doesn't work like that if you really want to make your project a success. If it's your pet project and if it's sufficient for what you need it, maybe this talk is not too informative for you. But let's continue. I want to talk a bit about your role as a maintainer, and this is not a role that people tell you you need to do. It's about what you decide is going to be your role. Users on the internet can be rude, claiming they need a pull request and they need it now. I don't like that. Saying that don't advertise, or going like, well, could you give an update? We need an update now. And this is really bad. I'm not going to repeat those words. But it's what people will do. Luckily, there's also some people which are more nicer. Trying to contribute, so, sorry, it's just, I agree with the above, but here's my opinion. Actually, people just saying thank you for your work, complimenting your work, thinking about other people. I don't know, people have the Log4j issues top of their mind, but imagine being the Log4j developer or maintainer. So it's about responsibilities that you pick. So you're the founder of your project, you're a leader of your project, maybe you're also the security officer of your project, the engineer is also needed in your project, maybe a bit of planning, so you're project manager as well, and there's support issues. You can decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and especially the latter might be the most important for your personal health. You don't have to do issue support. You don't have to do clear road mapping and stuff like that. You pick, you decide, and even though others might think you should do differently, pick your own choice. If you want to make your project available for others, make others help you out, the important thing to do is build towards a healthy community. People need to know where to find stuff, right? Where, what your goal is, or those type of things. For me personally, if I work on projects, I really like my well-known files. Didn't find an official terminology for it, so I coined it, and tell me if I'm mistaken, and there is one. There's tons and tons and tons of files, and I'm not saying the project needs to have all of them, but a few of them are really important. A README, take some time to, or at least would be my recommendation, take some time to build a proper README. It should tell people what the project does and how you could get started in the project. And the things to do is to tap into recognition. So people's stuff can recognize your logos, your badges. Like clearly the badges tell something about what license it has, what version it has, about the PHP versions it's supporting, and stuff like that. It's a really good way for people to scan if the project is active and all those types of aspects. And then also just using proper markdown and using the proper headers. If you're linking to a website, make sure it's a link, and people will have a better experience in getting started in the project because the README guides them. One other important file that I always start off with is a license. License is there to protect you and to tell others what they can do with your project. I think we all know the common ones, right? MIT, GPL, Apache 2. There's slight differences between those three. My personal choice is to use MIT, which is the most permissive one. People can do what they want. They can include it in closed source software. They can reuse it in other open source software. I'm fine with it. If you really feel my code is going to help you out and you don't want to credit me, I don't like it, but I'm not going to block you. I'm not having a ton of lawyers at my back that can sue you. So just try to put it out there and help others. That's my vision, and the MIT license helps with that. The GPL, that's a copy left. It can help you with the improvements others make, because legally they are obliged. I have no numbers on this, but I'm curious how often that happens. And if you just talk about contributing to code, that happens no matter your license, is my experience. If you need to make a more informed decision, GitHub actually has a website, choosealicense.com. It can help you. It will go into detail about what the license entails, and it will clearly state what the permissions, the conditions, and the limitations are. So if you really want to know a bit more, look there. My advice is no legal advice, and I think they claim the same. So it's there for information, it's not legal things. One of the other things, well-known files, I think are well-known files, is GitHub issues. So this is your typical GitHub issue. You need to report an issue, like make a title and write something. Like anything goes. As a maintainer, these are the most difficult things to deal with, because they will be all over the place in an order that's natural to the reporter, not necessarily to you. It doesn't have all the information that you might want to have if you want to look into issues. But GitHub has some support for this. So they have a issue template, which is a markdown file. And it's basically it's a form builder. So you can define your bodies, your types, and that literally boils down to, as we can see on the right side, making separate fields, like if you want to have some contact details, if you want to know a bit about the version that people were running the issue in against. That can be helpful for you if you want to know reproduction steps. You can make a field for that. And all of a sudden, instead of a blank canvas, we have more of a guided way of getting information if people run into issues. It can be challenging to make a one template fits all. What you could actually do is create multiple of those files. So if you want to get different information from a bug report or a feature request, you can make different templates. The security vulnerability will always be there because it's a separate track in GitHub, and it's non-public, which is best. The same actually goes for pull requests. Pull requests also allow you to create a template file. These files typically live in your .github folder. They're clearly named. They're pull underscore request underscore template and stuff like that. This is the type of things you will find on the links that I'll have in the end of the show. What I think is they could improve on, they don't have a template builder like they had for issues, so it will be just a markdown that will be put into your form when you're opening a pull request. It could still be very helpful. You can highlight to users what you think is important, ask for some feedback, what it is that this PR is doing. You can really steer them towards that. One of the other things I try to do to keep up the healthy community is automation. Automation can be your army that helps you out. And I think we all know the typical ones, right? Running your tests, running your code linter, running your static analysis. That's helpful for pull requests. But you could actually do many more things. One of them is welcoming the new contributors. It's an automation, and it's a small feedback loop, and you can put your information in there. It's like, I'll try to review as soon as possible, or maybe this project is not that active. You could actually say, well, thanks for the contribution. I'll take a look at it. Might take a while. And And then there's tons of other automations that you could play around with. Things is closing still issues, closing still pull requests, people opening an issue, saying, well, this doesn't work for me. You're like, okay, tell me more. No response. I don't want to be the one going through all those issues, scanning for the ones that haven't been replied. I'll just set up closing of still issues, which can either be on tags or time-based and stuff like that. And they'll even first send a comment like, if no reply, this issue will be closed in a couple of days. The days are configurable. Other things are your Dependabot, to keep your dependencies up to date. You could even go as far as doing release creations and stuff like that. I even went as far, I have a scraper for the Exact Online API documentation, which is HTML-based as opposed to an open API specification. I just crawl that every night, and if there's changes to the output, it will do an automatic commit, and if I wake up in the morning, there will be a pull request for review on my phone. And I can take a look, and I almost just merge it. Maybe I should go a bit beyond and automatically merge those type of things, because it's a computer, and computers don't make mistakes, right? You could also consider, if it's your forte and you want to know if your code doesn't have any critical vulnerabilities, run Composer audit on a nightly basis. So if there's vulnerabilities, you will wake up with a failed pull request, and you know you might need to do something today. One of the lesser known features, in my perspective, about the GitHub Actions, and I really like, are the problem matchers. So problem matchers are configurations you can set up in your pipeline, and they basically are regular expressions on the output of your GitHub Actions. If a line in the output will match that regular expression, it will actually be commented. Well, it's not an actual comment, actually, but they will put it in line with the changed files. So you don't have to look in two places anymore. You don't have to look at the code that changed and if the pipeline has failures. Your failures will be mentioned in line, and it's more helpful for others because they can look in one place. Then there is versioning. Versioning, typically, I would recommend doing semantic versioning because, as I showed earlier, this actually allows you to get feedback from your users, which version did they run into issues, and it can help you narrow down what you need to check. There's also, in the well-known files, a support file where you can specify which versions you are supporting, which versions you're no longer supporting or only doing security updates for. So this is one of those other things that it's a small thing, but towards people that start using your library, you're more communicative about what it is they can use the project for, if their version is still supported and stuff like that. As mentioned, asking for affected versions. And I would also keep a changelog. There's a format, keepachangelog.com. It's relatively easy to do upkeep, and it's, for me in my projects, it's a really good source. Like, did I do something related to this feature? I'll open that file, do a quick search, and see if it's there. Then there is the promotion of work. So if you really want to increase the visibility of your project, you will need to do something. Just putting it out there on GitHub, waiting for others to find it, might not be the best if you want to go big. It's not that it's a huge SaaS solution that you're probably building on GitHub. I would not expect that in open source. But you will need to do some work. Typically, just vocally speaking about your product, or written as well could be. So first of all, make sure you can be found in the respective package manager, being package manager, being composer, being NPM, all of those. You could start talking to your co-workers, your friends. You can maybe do meetups, conferences, whatever is okay for you. Starting left to right is probably a good way, right? Your co-workers will always be gentle with their feedback. They're like, well, I really like your idea, but did you hear about this alternative? It seems to do the same that what you're doing, or maybe you can improve here. Your friends, if they are into IT, they'll be a bit more direct maybe with their feedback. Meetup, people, yeah, then you'll enter places where people will be really direct, which is great, right? At least for me, getting feedback is important. And if you want to get the powers of the internet, you can actually go social media, Reddit, Stack Overflow. For me, Reddit actually was a really nice place. So on the PHP subreddit, there is a share your link topic, which is sticky. I posted my version of JSON Mapper there back in the days, and actually got some nice feedback. People pointing out alternatives, saying, oh, this is really great, but the performance is lacking a bit. Could you do something with it? And well, Stack Overflow is Stack Overflow. People ask more than they contribute. And if it's up to you, do a website, do a blog, whatever you think is helpful for you and helpful for your community. But the most important thing is, don't wait for feedback to get to you. You'll have to start collecting it. And I'm bringing it as you need to. Well, first of all, you need to decide if you want to. But if you really want to, it's an activity you need to do. Social media, I'm not really into social media. So the thing I did was I claimed my project. It's there. Nobody can pretend it's me. And so on X, you'll find JSON Mapper. It doesn't have too much information, but at least it links back to my GitHub, where the source code is. And on GitHub, I also linked that same profile, so you know they are one and the same. And also, what you could do in GitHub is your social media preview. So if anybody would share a link to your GitHub profile, it will be shown with the correct preview. Different networks can be your outpost. So I'm talking about X. This could be Blue Sky, could be Mastodon, could be anything else. So I treat them as outposts. I'm not too active on it. You'll probably find me on either of those, but I always try to pull you back into my GitHub repository, because that's where I tend to put my focus on. So this is just one-time setup. As mentioned, add them to your GitHub organization settings or to your GitHub account. I decided to put JSON Mapper into its own organization, which is free for open source, and your social preview. With regards to website and blogging, I'm a huge fan of the static site generators, right? So if you're having a project that's becoming a bit bigger, has more features, you might want to add some technical documentation for those people that are using your application. You could use the wikis and the discussions on GitHub. I prefer a website. I've been using Jekyll over the past, which is Ruby-based, and it works really nicely. But I'm a PHP developer. So every time I was needing to do something on that site, I was Googling, ChatGPTing, and stuff like that, and it became a hurdle. I think over half a year ago, HypePHP was launched. HypePHP is built on top of Laravel, and basically it does the same. You write some markdown with some front matter, which shows where the page becomes available, priorities, stuff like that. And you can actually generate from some markdown, go to a really decent documentation website without having the hassle of doing complete front-end development and hosting it somewhere. because this can be done by your GitHub Actions. They can run the compilation from Markdown to HTML and actually upload that to GitHub pages. So having this documentation site is free of charge. It's supported by GitHub. And then there's also options that you can host at Netlify or Vercel. Then there is your personal profile, right? Like, ooh, if I see this profile for a maintainer of a project that I might want to use, I'll be weary. Not so much about the contributions, because that could be a personal choice, or the contribution could be in the past of this time window. What you could actually do is you can write your own profile. So GitHub has some not too familiar features that you can write a README on a repository which is named similar to your username. And that README will actually be put on top of your personal profile. So anything we saw on the previous slide is down here, and here you can put up the information you want to share. So for me personally, I'm using a tool which is called Scribe, and it will run on timely based. It will check out the work I've been doing using the GitHub API and do a commit to the repository, and then again it gets compiled and built and put up on GitHub. The top part is just static text that I've put there. I don't have to do anything with it. Only thing I do is change the top part if I deem fit, but my activities are automatically updated whenever I do so. Then there is getting help. So trying to find help can be done in different matters. For me, I divided them in 3 groups. So the first one is platforms. So GitHub. GitHub actually can be your place of help. If you need some support for, I don't know, a logo design or a specific complex thing, or maybe just small tedious tasks that you would like to do, but you're not having the time for them, you can make issues yourself. Label them good first issues, pull request accepted, and you might end up getting quite some decent pull requests. It's my experience. If you want to do some other things, logo design or other creative work, and you don't want to use an AI option, you could go to either one of those 3 platforms, Dribbble, Upwork, and Fiverr. They will allow you to put up an assignment, and people respond with a quote, and you can go through them. And I think the top to down order is also how I would prefer to use them. Fiverr typically gets you somebody, they try to help you, but my experience is not the best. You pay less than Dribbble and Upwork. Quality corresponds to that. Then there's tooling. Those are your AI options. So if you need images, I'm not a too big fan, but they can help you out, right? They can also help you out with your idea. If you have an idea for an image in mind, but you want to get some feedback or see a first draft, they can help you out. We all know them, I guess, OpenAI, Stability. Adobe Express is actually one that I wanted to highlight specifically. So they have a AI logo builder. So this is already prompted to work towards a logo. And I think they actually guide you through it in asking several questions. And then if you really want to go big, right, you can go merchandising. So you can use the sticker app, allow you to make a nice sticker. You can use them on Meetup sharing, put them on your laptop, stuff like that. And then there's the typical other things. So Drukwerk Deal is those types of banners that can help you if you're in meetup groups and stuff like that. They are nice. And Shirt Up, just doing shirts, that helps. For me, I really like the sticker app. It's just plain and easy and get it out there. But this is also depending if you want to do something like that. If you're not talking at meetups, if you're not planning to hand out stickers, don't make stickers, and stuff like that. And then there is sponsoring, which is a big part of open source. We all know the typical sponsoring that open source developers claim that they should be paid. If you're spending a lot of time on it, that would be welcome, I guess. But for me personally, I'm not in it for getting money out of it. For me, contributing to open source is my way of sponsoring. I'm putting in my time trying to make projects we all tend to use a bit better. So what are your options if you're keen about sponsoring? Well, the typical one is your GitHub sponsors. You just need to do a first-time setup, create some files. Again, that funding.yaml is a well-known file, and you'll actually could get money. I'm currently having $1 sponsored. Yes. Minimum payout is €1, so through the currency exchange, I'm not able to get my dollar out. Buy Me a Coffee is one of those others. It's a money-based sponsoring platform, but there's others, right? JetBrains actually sponsors open source projects. So if you're doing an open source project, you can go to the open source page they have. You look in the bottom or at the back of my presentation, there will be links. You need to fill in a form, put a bit up about which repository are you doing your open source work in, what's the license type, and I think it needs to be one of those 3 that I showed earlier. And within a couple of days, you'll get an answer. And for me, 5 years in a row, they've been sponsoring me with a full JetBrains package. So any editor of JetBrains I can use for open source work, non-commercial. But that allows me to do my work in open source without having to pay for a editor. Basically, it's a €350 gift every year. So that's also money, but in a different shape. And GitHub actually has the same. I get a Copilot Pro for free, so that's a $10 a month gift I get. The only challenge is if you qualify, and if you qualify for them is a process they do and they own without sharing how that works. I'm just happy every month I get an email. It's like, you've been reselected for the Copilot Pro version. That helps. And then there's my employer. So I work at a company in Utrecht, Invi, where 25% of my time I can spend how I deem fit for personal development. That also includes doing open source work. So I try to find a balance there, learning new stuff, helping out in open source, and I think it's roughly a 50-50 split in that 25% time. Recapping. So it is about discovering your role. You need to decide what you want to do, where you want to grow, so you can challenge yourself there, or you can protect yourself about stuff you don't want to do. I don't want to be bothered with CVEs. This works for me, it's fine. It's running on my laptop at home, no worries. But I would recommend it's something you think about, what you want to do, because that keeps your sanity. If you want to make your project a bit bigger, you have to try and build towards that healthy community. Try to create those well-known files, add those licenses, because it tells people what they can and cannot do. It might actually also exclude you from certain projects if you're having a no license. A no license actually is a very special case, because then nobody... I need to recap. So only the one who wrote the software has the permissions, and then other people start joining in, and then all of a sudden nobody has the permissions. So just putting a basic license is a really good and important thing. Again, those templates, they can help you out if you don't want to be swamped in issue reports and you have to scan through them, what's the issue, etc. I would recommend you make some of those fields. promote your work if you really, really want to do something about that. You again need to pick and attract sponsors. So the bottom two, those are really activities. You'll need to do some effort for it. If I look at the Copilot and the JetBrains stuff, that's a 50-minute task every year. Really going out there promoting, making a logo, maybe going YouTube videos or whatever you like, that can be more time consuming. I've done what I think is the very basics, and I'm fine with that. For me, my joy is actually in building the open source software. Which, fun fact, getting those, what I showed earlier, those great work, thanks for the effort, those spark my joy. So if we talk about discover your role, that's where I really like to be, where I'm just thanked for my work in kind words. Actually, at this one occasion, I was doing some work for the Exact Online client, which is maintained by a company called Picker. And they actually went above and beyond. So they looked up my name on LinkedIn, found the company I worked at, sent me a small postcard through the company address, thanking me for my work, which is just a really small token of appreciation. But I can tell you, I've been high on that thank you for a week. It cost a stamp. I know the company Spatie, they actually introduced something called Postalware, where if you use their package, great. Send us a postcard and we'll put it up on the wall. That's the type of joy I get out of open source contributions and maintenance. That's what I really, really like.